Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of This Old Pin. I got some parts in today from the Pinball Resource. I try to buy most of my parts from them. They've got the best prices I've found. I got a complete rubber kit, so we're going to replace all the rubbers. Kind of an update too on what I've gotten done so far. We've got all of these clean. All three of these are now working. I got a couple of coils in. I got the coil that goes in to the, let me think of the name of it. It's the coil that comes on when you first turn the machine on. I'll come back to it. And I also got the coil that drives the #1 drum. So we're gonna replace that. I'm gonna desolder the old one. We're gonna also figure out, people had cut wires back there, so we need to make sure that we've got the right connection to go to that, and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do that. I got some filing stuff, a couple of extra sleeves just in case I need them, a new set of legs, or not legs, but the levelers that go underneath. The legs are pretty rusty on this thing, but I don't want to spend a lot of money right up front, so, take it. To me, this is more important, and getting all of this stuff working is more important. The legs are more bling. I mean, these are functional, they're not pretty, but that'll come later. But I will put new levelers on it. And I got the parts to try to spruce up the flippers a little bit. We'll see. I don't know if I need new coils there, but hopefully not. We'll see if new plungers for the coils and new stops will make them work a little bit better. So first up, we're gonna go ahead and I've got the new coil put in. I don't have it soldered in yet, so we'll start there with finding the correct wires that are going to drive that coil. On a side note, I ran into a problem a couple of days ago. As I was working on the grid and getting it all cleaned up, and I was doing some testing, and right in the middle of the testing, I was hitting the ball out switch. In other words, when the ball drains, and checking the different letters, and then I would hit the ball out switch again. And of course, when you hit that, it activates the coil. It goes to the next ball, it advances to the next ball here, and then the kick out coil kicks the ball back into play into the trough. And all of a sudden it quit doing that. I'm going to show you, and it took me a little bit of time to figure this out. I'm going to show you what the reason it quit kicking the ball out. I thought it was one of the switches that went to one of the relays down here, the out hole relay. I thought one of the switches had possibly gone bad going into the out hole relay. But here's what I discovered. What it was, which is really strange, you see this disc here? Well, there's a notch, and when that notch drops down, you see how when I barely touched that, it moved around 180, it moved 180 degrees. Well, that switch that I just touched, it was making contact, but it wasn't strong enough to complete the rotation, so it was stopping short. Well, the stack that's right underneath that is a switch that goes to the out hole relay. So if I hit the out hole relay manually, it would kick the ball out like this. Hear that pop? That's kicking that solenoid to kick the ball out. But because this was only part of the way through its rotation, and it was up. It was opening the switch, which would not allow that to kick, which then the hole up there wouldn't kick the ball out, so it would die at ball 1. When it would go to ball 2, it would never kick the ball out, and it took me a while to figure that out. But I got this switch cleaned and adjusted, so now it goes 180 degrees again. Now let's take a look at what we've got going on back here. So here's the old coil that was taken out. I've already got the new coil installed, and we've got wires that have been cut. So what I'm going to do is use a multimeter and start a game. Let me drop this down just a little bit here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm pretty sure, and these two wires that have been cut, this is part of one wire. This and this. So I have to think that this is one complete circuit that's going to go from here, and then the other one is going to go through this switch. And it appears on this one next to it that is the same configuration. So it goes from the coil here, and then back out, and then up to this switch, which is the 0 switch. So we can use our multimeter, if I can find my multimeter. In order to test this, to make sure we've got the correct wires, I'm going to connect to the wire that's going to this old coil, and to this lead wire that's been cut, and then we're going to watch our voltage. And I'll just hold it like that. We're going to watch our voltage after I start a game, and I know that whenever I hit certain bumpers, that should score 1 point, which should give me 25 or so volts into these wires if I've got the correct wires. So we'll see in a second. Everything reset, of course, except for this, because I haven't put the coil in. Now, if I hit a 1 point switch, there we go, 31 volts. Little more than I was expecting, but 30 volts is fine. This evening, I've been working on the pop bumpers, or jets as some people call them. And to work on them, as far as the housing itself, you have to desolder them. So it's something to keep in mind if you're going to clean them. They worked fine after I got the machine up and running, but they're sluggish. They hit the ball, and this is only what a 30 volt machine. So it's an older machine. The newer machines had more voltage. They could activate the coils a little stronger, but I think I can get a little more pop out of these. So what I did is, and I use, if I'm going to clean plastic, stuff like this, I just take some Mr. Clean and dilute it with some water. Works really well. And there's 1,000 different ways to clean plastic, but that's what I use in particular. I also took out all of the pieces for the coils and the spring. And these are the clips that hold the coil in place with the pull rods. A lot of them are broken. I guess the metal's just stressed over that many years of being basically hammered on. I can't tell that it's going to affect, as long as you get it on there and get these two pull rods down through, and even some of the pull rods have broken. I think I can still get a nut on that. I'm probably gonna have to order a few more pull rods, and I have no idea how to get this apart beyond this. I don't even know if you can. But in order to kind of knock out some of that sluggishness, I'm trying things and I don't know what's gonna work and what's not gonna work. I'm trying some of this synthetic grease super lube and a very thin coat. I basically get a little on my fingers and just kind of rub it on this pull rod. And I'm also using some carnauba, I guess is how you say it, carnauba wax. And I'm putting that on the plastic here and on this ring. And I'm letting it dry, and then I'm just buffing that out. I know that the way this works is the ball rolls here and it moves this, which I'll show you the switch in a minute. It pushes the switch down, which causes the coil to fire, which pulls down on this, which basically pinches the ball here. And that's what pushes it out. So it doesn't matter where the ball hits the ring. That's why it can fire in all directions, because it's activated by this moving from the center point. Now, hold on. I'm going to show you where these were on the playfield. You can see the switches here. Here, there's 5 of them. Here. So, and this is where you have to desolder the wires. And all these wires are for is just to run the lights. So, no big deal. It's on the 6-volt side. You can see what the top of the playfield looks like without. Now, while I've got those out, that's going to be a good opportunity for me to take some naphtha and really clean the top of the playfield and go ahead and wax this area so I can get it good and waxed. I'll probably go ahead and do that. And the way this switch works, though, is you can see, as a matter of fact, I've got one here down. This one doesn't have a coil, but this is just one that it doesn't kick the ball, but when it hits that ring, it pushes. And you can watch the switch here. And that's how it activates. Pretty simple. So I'm gonna get these. I've got just about got them cleaned up, and I've also cleaned out these coils. I went in there with some Q-tips and got the sleeves cleaned up. So hopefully these pops are going to work a little better when I get them put back together. I will know shortly. So this is what happens. You get started taking off some pop bumpers, and before you know it, you've cleared the whole playfield. I figured I might as well. And I've waxed. I tried to clean it with a magic eraser and the naphtha stuff, and it's ground in. It's not coming out. I'm debating on whether or not to completely repaint the playfield, but I just don't know yet. That's a lot of work, but I'm debating it. I may. So I'll come to that decision a little bit later. I've got all the new rubbers I'm going to start putting on it. I'm going to buff it out here in a little bit, and I'll start putting it all back together. A few switches to adjust here, and we'll be back in business. It'll be time to do some pinball playing. I've got everything put back together. I've got the playfield is all reassembled. You can see lit up there. Looks much better. And the machine plays great, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. But the A and B light are staying lit, and that's there and there. And those are activated by some rollovers, which are here, and there's a rollover back there. And then there's a couple of stand-up targets. There's the switch for one of them. And let's see, there's the other one. Let's see if I can get back in there so you can see it. There's the other one. And you can see right there even that the switch is open right there. So I don't know why these lights are staying on. So I'm going to have to go to the schematic. The problem with that, I mean, well, obviously it's a problem if they never go out. That activates a gate. And there's a gate right here. And there's a small wire that goes through the table underneath to this switch stack. You can see where it's kind of connected right there. And that's the coil that drives that. So I'm gonna have to go to the schematic, which isn't exactly my strong suit, but I'm figuring it out as I go. And if when the ball goes through the gate, it's gonna go over this rollover right here. When it goes over that rollover, it should reset, and then you should have to get A and B again. But now watch when I do this. Watch the switch stack. It goes right back on. Okay, which it should stay off. That gate should stay up. And also the A and the B lights come right back on. They should stay off. And I'm also noticing that it is throwing the A relay, the B relay, both of those relays, they're right there, A and B. And of course we're at the special now, so it's throwing the special relay. And even if you try to close, all right, I can manually close the B relay. Something is on the A relay, so I've got to figure that out. So I'm going to go to the schematic. I'm going to look at the schematic a little bit, see if I can figure out why it's doing this. And if I can, I'll demonstrate on the schematic kind of how I look for that. Because where I'm going to start, I'm going to go to this coil, the gate relay. I'm going to go to the gate relay coil, and I'm going to see all the switches that are connected to that and see if that points me in the right direction. So stay tuned, we've got to do a little troubleshooting. Well, it took me a few minutes. I brought the schematic for Hotline, and I was concentrating, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing here, but here, the A and the B relay. The B wasn't tripping, but the A relay was. So basically you just trace it back, and I'm looking at the left top rollover, and I kept looking at the switch, and it looked fine. It appeared to be open. So, but whenever I would try to close the A relay, anytime I would try to close it and make contact with this particular switch right here, it would buzz. I could actually see it sparking. So I knew it was closed somewhere. And it is the green and orange, just like it indicates in the, right here. Right there, green, orange. Just as it indicates in the schematic. So I come over here and I look, this is the left top rollover switch right here. And I'm looking, and all these switches, there's a switch there, and that's to trigger the A relay, and then this switch is what scores. And they're open. I kept messing with them. So finally I decided to just go ahead and pull the switch off the board, and as soon as I did, a large piece of solder fell out from between I couldn't see it obviously, but it fell out. And I've actually got it right here. There was your culprit right there. So that was causing that. Now once I did that, I don't know why the gate relay kept throwing open, but it was as well, because it takes A and B, but B is fine now. It's not, I never did see anything wrong with it either, but it's not firing. So now, let me fire it up here. There we go. And the A and B are now in the up position, which is good. There's the A and the B relay. And the gate there's the gate. And you notice the gate light is not lit. It's that orange light right there. But if I trip this target, I'm going to trip that target. Okay, that should have thrown one relay. Now I'm going to trip, where is that target? Right there. I'm going to trip that target. Now, there's the gate light. That's working properly. So we got one more thing solved. And I tell you what, I couldn't imagine trying to do this without the schematic. It makes it so much faster. There's one set of lights on the playfield not to forget about, and they're underneath this metal piece here, and then there's like a two-layered metal piece, and it's got a couple of bars that go at the top. But you have to, this slides out, you see that slot there, this slides out, and then the other piece just mounts to the top. But a lot of times these bulbs haven't worked for years because they're kind of hard to get to and you don't even know they're there. But a lot of playfields do have lights up here in the very top. All four of these were out. So I took this piece off and got into there and cleaned all the sockets. And also, when it comes to cleaning sockets, where is that tool? What did I do with that tool? Here it is. This is like I don't know, it's like a rubber stick thing that you can buy from the Pinball Resource for like $7. You take that and run it down and just kind of scrub it around, and that will clean those sockets. This thing, it's worth every bit of that $7. Hey everyone, this should be the last episode of the Soul Pin for the Hotline. I pretty much got it working. There's a couple of other things I may do in the future. The playfield has got quite a bit of wear. There's some cupping in the inserts. It doesn't affect the ball play that much because this table's pretty fast actually. It does affect the way it rolls into the out lanes. The special inserts, the camera's probably too high for you to see them. But I'm going to kind of go over everything that I ended up doing on this machine, kind of an after action, and show the parts that I replaced. And I'm also, for anyone who's not familiar with Hotline, when I bought this table, I got it because it was $100 basically. Somebody said, hey, I'm at an auction. There's two pinball machines in here and each of them are $100. I said, well, pick them up. I didn't even know if I'd be able to fix this thing. When I got it, I didn't know what kind of shape it was going to be in. I bought both of them, this one and that Pioneer, sight unseen. I've been very pleased with how this machine turned out. And actually, I am a fan of Steve Kordek, the guy that designed this machine, who died a couple of years ago. And Grand Prix is also an old electromechanical that he designed. I've always enjoyed playing that machine. So to find out this is also a Steve Kordek, made me pretty happy. But anyway, I'm gonna show you the gameplay on this machine as well. If you've never played this machine, it's actually a very fun machine, and it's got one of the earliest dot matrix displays that I'm aware of. 1966, using dot matrix. That was a little ahead of its time. But I'm going to go over the things that I did, just as an overview, and then I'm going to show you the gameplay on this machine and how you score and how the dot matrix display works. First up, inside the box, I had to replace the lock relay coil. It was completely burned up, as they often are, apparently. I don't know if you remember back in the earlier episodes, but I had to adjust the index, which was this set. I had to adjust this because there wasn't enough pressure here to keep it going all the way through the first disc rotation. I don't remember if there were really any other switches I had to adjust in here. I pulled all of the pop bumpers out and cleaned them and adjusted them. I bought new parts for the flippers for the, let me make sure I'm pointing to the right thing here. I bought a new sleeve insert for both of the flippers and a new plunger. Unfortunately, what I found out after I did that is that sleeve doesn't come out. So I am going to end up adding new coils. They're still pretty powerful, but they could have a little more oomph. I replaced all of the lights in the dot matrix, cleaned all the switches, cleaned all the inserts, but I replaced them with LEDs, and I opted for the white because they really do look unique on that with that red insert. I know a lot of people don't like LEDs on their old EM machines, but I thought it's just really unique and it's different, so I'm going to run with that. You may also remember that we cleaned the stepper unit for the Hotline feature, which is that advances the lights up here for Hotline, which is the main feature of the game. That stepper unit was cleaned. Additionally, in the back box, we cleaned this stepper unit. I had to replace the coil for the one reel. I had to adjust several of those switches up there because they weren't pulsing, and I had to adjust several switches in, let me set this light down, in this stack, and I believe we just adjusted some here too. And those switches are probably, if you're going to work on an old machine, you're going to find a lot of these switches are going to be out of adjustment, and they're going to not pulse the next reel when they need to, or they're going to pulse the next reel when they don't need to. Took all of the reels out and cleaned them, and cleaned the moving parts that drive the drums, these scoring drums. Didn't really have to do anything to the credit unit. It's already set up for free play, so no big deal there. Cleaned the back glass. Just kind of did some general. I need to clean up down here. I cleaned the bottom of the box itself, but I haven't gotten all this cleaned up yet. I've got to fashion a new door. The old door fell apart, so I've got a new lock for that, and that'll come a little later. On the playfield, I removed all the plastics and all of the top parts of the pop bumper, cleaned all of that, and waxed the plastic and the metal here, and the ball is moving much better. All these plastics I removed, clean, replaced bulbs that were burned out, took all of this part off and this metal part and cleaned it. All the bulbs back there were burned out, replaced those, and the whole playfield, the entire playfield, I wiped down with naphtha and a magic eraser, and then I waxed it. So it is shiny, it's worn, but it's playing pretty fast right now. Finally, I'm going to do one startup sequence on this thing and briefly go over the features of the gameplay on this Williams Hotline. Now when we do a start, instead of it just, I don't know if you remember back at the beginning, clack, 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 didn't do anything else. Now we have a nice solid startup. Ball kicks out and we're ready to go. The main features of this game are the gate, which is to the right, and Hotline with the matrix in the middle. In order to get the gate open, and first, the scoring on this machine, obviously only 4 digits. Most things only score 1. Your slings, 1 point. Any of your rubbers, 1 point. When the pops are not lit, 1 point. The center one's always 1. Targets are 100. Rollovers are 100. So to get the A and the B lit, A and B, when it's lit, opens the gate. The one other bumper I didn't mention is this top center bumper, which is just, it's not actually a pop, it's just like a rubber bumper. But every other point, it lights for 100. So, ding, there's you 100 points. And then the next time you get a single point, it turns it off. Otherwise, it's worth 10. So to light the gate, to open the gate, you have to get both the A and the B. You can get the A with the left target or the left rollover, and you can get the B with the center target or the right rollover. So we'll do an A. That was 100 points. And you'll notice the A lights the 2 yellow jets. And then B lights the other 2 jets, the red jets. Now we have A and B lit, the gate is open. The other main feature of this game is to advance hotline. There's 2 settings that you can set, either conservative or liberal. The machine's always been set to liberal for me. I've never switched over. I prefer a 3-ball game, so with that, you're still never going to make hotline. 1 in 1,000 maybe. You're just not going to do it with a 3-ball game and lightning flippers. It's just not going to happen. So on the liberal, if you roll over one side, it blasts the other side. So same here, there, and then the center one you have to go. So now you'll notice you got your O, and the H is lit down here. You can advance letters one of 3 ways: hitting all the rollovers, or when this is lit and you go down this lane on the way out, because it's all out lane over there, that will advance it 1, or through the gate. The gate's very hard to hit. I've never hit it from a flipper. It's always been off of one of the jets. So we'll do it with the ball in the gate here. It goes through, rolls over that rollover, now we're at T. Now once you go past the first line, these lights go out, so you can no longer get advanced that way. So now you can only advance, at that point you can only advance one of 2 ways. Either roll over or through the gate. You can still do it through the gate. So we'll go through the T. Alright, now we're at the L. Now maybe it's after you actually achieve the L, I think that's gonna go out. So we'll go ahead and open the gate again. Got all of our pops lit. Now you'll notice too, when you go into the pops now, they've got some good action. Not too bad. Ooh, love that buzz. And then we're going to go ahead and knock out that letter. Now you'll notice we're at I. This goes out the in lanes, or not in lanes, but the inner out lanes go out, and now your special will start bouncing back and forth every time one is scored. It's going to move to the other side of the table, like so. So we're going to try to go right up the middle and get all these. Oh, I don't know. Kind of hard to do a camera on that. Now we're at the N. You'll notice the I is lit, so we'll do a gate. Now we want a game there. And we are at the final letter. There's the E. So we get through the E. Oh, it didn't go liberal, did it? There we go. So it's just going to keep giving you the E over and over once you get to the end of hotline. Every time you get the E, you get an added credit. So you have a free game. Anyway, that is the gameplay for Hotline, and I've been very impressed with this machine. I really, really have. I've enjoyed bringing it back. I didn't know if I could do it. It's really my first full restore where I had to go and find a bunch of switches and didn't know if I could do it, and it looks to me like it works pretty well. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching, and next up is that beast right there. That's a 2-player Pioneer, and I'm going to take a week or so and just play pinball over here for a while before I even start on that. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend.